What's up guys, welcome to Vintage Genetics, where it is all about classic bodybuilding. And today is going to be a Q&A. It's been quite a while since I've done a Q&A, so here we go again. I'm going to aim to do at least one Q&A a week, so make sure that if your question isn't answered in this video, answer them down below, and I'll compile them again and then answer them in the next Q&A. But for now, I have them right here on my phone. On Instagram, I asked you a bunch of questions. So these are the questions to my post I made on Instagram, and here you can get an idea of the amount of questions you get on a random Instagram story. As you see, it's quite extensive like this. So in these questions, I like to pick out the good ones, and I just did. So enjoy this Q&A, and hopefully you learn something. Let's get started. So let's get started indeed on the first question by Ayman Leif. How's the baby doing? And how to avoid wrist injury when pushing heavy weights? Well, first of all, the baby is doing fine. Dexter is doing incredible. He's a bit older than 5 weeks now. Last Friday he was 5 weeks, so it just feels amazing, and you know, it's just an amazing thing to see him grow and develop into a bigger, stronger, more intelligent human being every single day. It's just a wonder of the world, guys, trust me. And how to avoid wrist injuries when pressing heavy weights? Well, you can actually use wrist wraps, but more importantly, make sure that when you're doing a bench press, for example, or a dumbbell press or any other press, that your fist is stacked onto your forearm straight. So not like this, because this causes stress. Not like this, but like this. And you can strengthen your forearm for that. But if you really can't stack it straight onto it, use a wrist wrap, which are available on the vintagegenetics.com. Next question by John Dalo. Best ways to bust through a weight plateau without dropping calories too low. So, you know, you can tell a weight plateau as if you're wanting to do more weight in a gym, but he's talking about a weight loss plateau, which a lot of people have when you're cutting down for a contest, for a photo shoot, or simply when you want to look leaner. So the biggest thing a lot of people do wrong or could do better is that they drop the calories before upping the activity. Throughout the years, I've learned that your diet is the single most important thing in bodybuilding, and the food you eat should be kept as high as possible. Don't fool yourself, don't try to cut on your bulking diet. You have to drop the calories a little bit, but not so much that you don't have a way out at the very end when you're below 2,000 calories, and where do you go then? That's not a scenario you want to be in. So what do you want to do? If you're at a plateau, up your activity level. What's more easy than to just walk a few more steps every single day? The strategy that I implement for myself during this contest prep for the Mr. Olympia is that I don't do, for example, I'm gonna increase my cardio with 10 minutes. That's not what I'm doing anymore. What I am doing is I'm increasing the steps by 500 steps a day. For example, this watch right here, it counts the steps I take every day. Now, my goal, for example, at the beginning of this contest prep was 7,000 steps. Then it went to 8,000 steps, and it went to 9,000 steps, and now it's at 9,500 steps. Every time that I hit a plateau, I up my step count, and if I then still can't break through the plateau, only then I lower the calories. So first, up your activity in a logical way that won't interfere with bodybuilding, building muscle, or your weight training. So don't stack super much cardio on top of your weightlifting session. Just spread it out throughout the day if you have the luxury, and otherwise simply do some fasted cardio and some cardio post-workout, but that's the second best option. The best option will be simply to track your steps, make sure you hit those steps every single day consistently, and you will make a lot more and faster progress than you might otherwise think. Trust me. Next question by Andreas Gianni. Is it too bad if I have oats before sleep in a bulking season? It's not bad at all. Oats, to me, are one of the most amazing carb sources there is. Why? Because first of all, they're complex carbs, so they won't spike your insulin, so you won't have a drop either. It's going to be nice and stable. It has a lot of fiber in it. It has some protein in it. It has some fats in it, so it's a really balanced carbohydrate source, especially when combined with high quality whey isolate, for example, like becomegladiator.com isolate, 91 grams per 100 grams. But anyway, oats are amazing, pre-bed, combining it with some almond butter or peanut butter as well. It's just a very good carb source, so no problem at all. Next question by Ikriz7. Why do you speak like that? It looks like a radio speaker. Well, it's just my voice, more specifically my English voice. If I talk regularly, it's going to be boring. If you look at my first few videos, I'm going to be talking like this, very monotone. That's not what we want. We want some intonation. We want sounds. We want something nice to listen to. And I happen to have a voice that makes it possible to change it into a voice people like to listen to. A lot of people also tell me that I should do some voice acting work, for example, doing some voiceovers or for an animation or for a cartoon or for a trailer. That's something I'm really interested in, so if you have any lead for me, let me know. Next question by Alexa6930. What do you usually eat for carbing up for the competition? Appreciate, man, if you answer this. When you're carbing up for the competition, what you want is the glycogen in the muscle to be increased, so you have fuller muscles, but you want your stomach at the same time to be decreased. That is a difficult combination because whenever you eat carbs, your intestines will also be attracted. Well, they attract water because of the carbs in there. So what you want is a carb source that digests really quickly and easily, so it goes as fast as possible, as efficiently as possible to the muscles. In my opinion, things that digest very easily is rice, simple white rice. Not too many vegetables, not too many fibers, not too many fats, because the more of those you have, the longer it stays in your intestines, the longer it takes for your stomach to be flat. You can do that a few days before going on stage, but the day before, I would limit those to a minimum. And also cream of rice, for example, and some other carb sources are possible, but some people like to go, when they carb up to an extreme, they like to go for pancakes or burgers or stuff like this. If you go for stuff like that, you will roll the dice on what's going to happen. And I like to be secure and sure about what's going to happen. So for me, it really is going to be rice and cream of rice, maybe some sweet potatoes because of the potassium, and it's, it digests really easily for me as well. So it really depends on what digests easily for you. But some carb sources like, bread, or the pancakes I mentioned, if they are with gluten or other high FODMAP carb sources, or oats, which contains fibers, stuff like that would be lower on the list that I would choose to carb up with. Next question by Being Mohammed Zah, and probably a bit more, but it cuts off. Is it beneficial to use anti-estrogen drugs as a natural bodybuilder to have more testosterone? So a lot of people, maybe you saw it in the scrolling down of this, a lot of people asked me about compounds, drugs, peptides. Those usually are the most asked questions. But a question like this is answerable because you have to think about it logically. A man produces testosterone, and a part of the testosterone is aromatized into estrogen. when naturally something is in your system, a hormone, it will have a function in the body. Estrogen, just to make it easy, will provide you benefits for cholesterol levels, so higher HDL, lower LDL, so you don't want to lower it for that reason. It gives you more water retention also in the muscle cell for fullness, and at the same time also for strength. So if you have a low estrogen, your strength levels and fullness levels will go down. Yes, you might look a bit drier because you lose the water, but trust me, that is not worth it. And another thing is your mood will drastically go down. It won't feel good. If you have low estrogen, you're going to feel like depressed, possibly. A lot of people who use these compounds the wrong way, they are left with months of feeling horrible and just depressed and not wanting to work out. Trust me, when you have natural testosterone and natural estrogen levels, they will be balanced. They will be balanced. Maybe in puberty, the estrogen will be a bit higher because some people develop gynecomastia in the nipples. But that happens in the puberty sometimes when testosterone is high, and therefore a bigger chunk will be converted to estrogen, and that could cause gynecomastia, but in most cases that goes away anyway, so that doesn't matter. But estrogen, trust me, has many benefits for a male bodybuilder as well, so you don't want to mess with it as a natural bodybuilder. Next question by John Losquadro. Which classic physique competitors will be the toughest competition this year? Well, that is a tough question to answer because a whole lot of them are very tough to beat. Obviously, Chris Bumstead, Brian, you don't have George Peterson anymore, you don't have Keone anymore, but you do have Branch, I think, the guy with enormous quads, which I think was also in the top 5 last year or top 6. And now you've got a lot of new guys as well who became pro and qualified for the Olympia. So there's going to be a lot of tough competition, but the Olympia will always be a tough competition. However, this is the first time I'm able to do the Olympia with nothing beforehand, not having 4 shows back to back like last time. So this time I'll be fresh, and I am looking for that first call out. That's truly what I believe I can achieve, and when I'm being compared to the likes of Chris Bumstead, for example, then I can finally see how I stack up to the best of the world, and that is going to be very exciting for sure. Next question by Fishing, Fitness and Family, I think. What is the best way to lose body fat and keep muscle? Now, this is a very general question, so it's going to be difficult to answer. And because it's so general, I won't delve into it too deeply. But the most important thing is don't rush it. So if you want to lose body fat and you don't want to lose muscle, the faster you lose body fat, the more likely it is you will lose a bit of muscle as well. So what I like to do with my clients that I coach, whether it's face-to-face or online, most of the time it's about 500 grams or a pound a week that they lose on body weight. For some people it's a bit more, for some people even it's a bit less. It depends on the body fat. Usually the first few weeks, if they change from their normal diet to a diet I prescribe, usually it goes a bit quicker because glycogen stores are being depleted and water is being depleted as well for a few weeks, so that's always a bit faster. And after that we should maintain a slow weight loss phase, but this is very important. Log your lifts. You don't have to log them all, but log some of them, like the back squat, the bench press, the deadlift, the bent over row, lat pull down, the dumbbell press, compound movements that you have to log and see if your strength is maintaining or increasing. One of those two has to happen. If it's decreasing, that's also a sign that things are going too quickly, or you're not sleeping enough, or you're not taking in the right nutrients, or you're going very low on sodium, which I'll make a video about very soon. A lot of things can play a role, but mostly it's that you're simply going too quickly, therefore not being able to recover from the previous workout, therefore not being able to progress or be stronger. And if you're getting weaker, then something is wrong, except for when you're at a very low body fat level. In the last few weeks of a contest prep, for example, you can't expect to maintain your lean bulk strength levels, but other than that, you should definitely be able to maintain your strength. And those two factors I just mentioned is the best way not to lose muscle. And of course, keeping in enough protein, etc. But that's going to be delving in it too deeply, because I can talk about that for an hour or 2 or 3 or 24. Next question by D. Clarkson96. How often should I train shoulders if I'm training chest twice a week? Now, this is an intelligent question, because he realizes that whenever you train the chest, kaboom, you also train the front delts automatically. So when you're training chest twice a week, in my opinion, you do not need to train the front delts at all. Maybe an isolation here and there if you want to feel a bit of a pump in the front delts specifically. But whenever you're, like for example, right now I have muscle ache in the front delt and I trained chest 2 days ago. I feel it in the chest, but also the front delt. So you can't get away, you can't get around training the front delts if you train the chest. So if you train the front delts even more on top of it, you will get an imbalance, and the front delt will pull harder on the joint compared to the rear delt, and it won't be good for potential impairments or injuries or nagging pain in the shoulder joint, which we don't want. So what I do recommend is whenever you train the chest, you train the side delts as well. And whenever you train the back, you train the rear delts. That way, it saves you the shoulder day, and you can actually train something else, and you have a bit more frequency in your workouts. However, if you do want to have a separate shoulder day, I would then recommend starting with the side or the rear delts and doing some trap work, for example, and maybe some abs, and maybe end with an isolation movement for the front delts, but that's it. That to me is the best advice for shoulders. If you simply love doing military presses, I would opt for, replacing some chest movements for those shoulder movements for the military press, in my opinion, because otherwise it's simply going to be too much. Next question by Bila Librahim. Your thoughts on studying nutrition in university today? Was my first day. Wish me luck. Well, good luck with it. I studied it myself, nutrition and dietetics. I graduated about about 1.5 months ago, which I'm very happy with. So basically what you learn is, if you already study yourself, if you do a lot of research on your own, you're probably not going to learn a whole lot new in the first 2 years. But after that, you're going to learn how to look up literature, how to know how to trust which literature, how to trust an article, how to read through the lines, how to know if someone is telling the truth, when to believe someone. So you kind of already filter out 90% of the things on the internet that you kind of already know, okay, that's not true, that's not really being explained well or not being, backed by literature. A lot of those things you learn, and because you are also doing your thesis during your university education, you will learn how to do this research yourself. So I did it as well. I did my thesis on what the metabolic rate of bodybuilders is in rest. So your resting metabolic rate or your basal metabolic rate. I made a formula to calculate what it is for a bodybuilder specifically. I only used 20 test subjects, so you can use the formula, but at the same time it won't be super accurate because I would need more than 100 or 1,000 test subjects to make it really accurate for everybody. But it was a very important lesson that told me, for example, how are all those predicting metabolic rate equations, how are they made, how are they created. So that's very valuable, and it teaches you not to just take something that's on the internet as truth, because there's a lot more going on than what's being said in an article, for example, that you simply read on some bodybuilding website. So you learn a whole lot, but you do have to be critical of some of the studies that they use, because usually an education uses, or a study uses, literature that is a few years old. And the thing is, if you have a free university where free thinking is allowed, and it was actually promoted during the study that I did, you are allowed to search your own literature and present it in class and then have a discussion about it, so that was really fun as well. I also did a minor sports nutrition, so if you have the option to do that, if you want to delve into sports nutrition specifically, you can also do that to learn even more about specific subjects, like for bodybuilders or for endurance athletes, stuff like this. But it's very interesting, and you will learn a whole lot about how to know how to find the truth about what matters. And all of a sudden, we are here on a different day with different clothing, golden era, available on vintage.com, and with the glasses on a different time of the day because Daddy Duty calls. Sometimes you cannot really do one thing in a big stretch anymore because someone else requires your attention. I don't know if you look, here closely, you can hear noise in the background. Now that is a baby app that is producing, white noise, but in this instance, pink noise to soothe your baby while he's sleeping. Little Dexter. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the Q&A. I hope you enjoyed the answers to the questions. And again, ask me some questions down below so I can answer them in the next Q&A. Every single week, a new video will be up. Thank you a whole lot for watching, and don't forget to stay golden.